Get ready, Curacao! Chico's 2025 is coming November 9 through 11. It's the Caribbean's premier hotel and tourism investment conference where networking, deal making, and the future of hospitality all come together. Don't miss it. Chico's 2025 is at the Marriott Curacao Beach Resort. Details at chicos.hvsconferences.com. See you there!
Hello, welcome. I'm Brian Roten, senior reporter at CoStar News Hotels. Today, I'm joined by James Carroll, president and CEO of Crestline Hotels and Resorts, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. James, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Brian. Very happy to be here and hopefully have a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. So before we jump into things, why don't you tell us a little bit about Crestline as it is today?
Sure. Well, Crestline Hotels and Resorts today is, we're a third-party management company. We operate about a little over 120 hotels for multiple different owners. That's about 17,000 plus rooms across 26 states, including DC. We have 24 different brands and a good selection of independent hotels that we operate. And we feel like we work for some of the best owners in the business and are excited to do so.
Great. So 25 years, that's a big milestone for any company, especially, one in an industry that can be as competitive, though friendly as the hotel industry is. So let's talk about how the company is celebrating, and let's talk about the company's history. I mean, a lot has happened, I have to imagine, in the 25 years since it started.
Absolutely. The history of Crestline goes back to kind of the days of Marriott International. And so, for those who know the history of the business, Marriott split into Host Marriott and Marriott back then. And it was a few years later that Host Marriott did another split when they were going to move into the REIT category. And they created a company called Crestline Capital. And that was a public company, a spinoff of Host. And Crestline Capital operated for a little bit over 3 years. And during that time, they began accumulating hotel assets themselves and wanted to self manage. So they created the platform of Crestline Hotels and Resorts as a management company. So that's really where we started. And Crestline Capital ended up being sold and going private around 2000, early 2002, and was purchased by Barceló, which is a very large Spanish hospitality company. And Barceló has been the owner of Crestline Hotels and Resorts ever since. And so that's kind of the roots. So we joke sometimes that we're like a grandchild of Marriott if you go way back to our roots. But that's what kicked things off. And, we started back then around 20 hotels under management. Um, Four of those we still manage today, less than 5,000 rooms. And, like I said, and now today, over 120 and 17,000 rooms. So it's been a great growth trajectory along the way. We formed a couple different companies that we ended up spinning off along the way. And, it's been an exciting business to be in. It's always changing. And, Crestline Hotels and Resorts has been sort of the base company that's been with us since 2000 and has always been there and hasn't gone away, and just had to change a lot with the times to keep our service where it needs to be.
Looking back to around the time when Crestline Resorts actually started as the management company that it is.
Mhm.
What was the third party management landscape like back then? I mean, we're seeing a big time for third party management companies now. A lot of opportunities to grow as brand companies, uh, though they still offer their management services, they are relying more on third party managers, and owners are looking for third party managers. But what was it like back around the time the Crestline started?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's evolved quite a bit. Back when Crestline started, brand management was very, very pervasive in the industry, both in full service, select service, across the board. And third party management was definitely more in its infancy, and there weren't a lot of very large third party managers. They started out with a lot of times some very experienced operators coming out of the brands, or hotel owners that decided to self manage and get with some sophisticated operators to form their own management companies, but they were generally pretty small. And I think over time, those third party management companies in general started proving their value, showing, like you see in other industries, a move towards specialization, where you see in the past, some of the brands owned a lot of their hotels. So they owned them, they were the franchisor, and they managed them. And then, here we are today where the brands really own almost no hotels at all, and management and ownership are split. So you see the specialization develop. Pure play owners, a lot of them are not hospitality specialists. Sometimes they're just investing in hospitality as a way to diversify their portfolios. Others are specialists, hospitality REITs who are specialists. But they like to work with the third party operators who are very, very focused on the management business as 100% their specialty, and then partner with the best brands in the business to put the strongest franchise on the hotels they can. So it's been a very exciting evolution, and now we see a good amount of consolidation in the management business, certainly at the higher tiers, creating much larger management companies.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, you have not been with Crestline for the full 25 years, but you still started with the company pretty early on. Can you tell us a bit about how you came to join the company and what your your own history is with Crestline?
Sure. I came to Crestline in 2004, and prior to that, I started, actually, my the first job of my career was as a Navy fighter pilot. So I didn't come to the industry in maybe the most normal way, but I spent about 10 years doing that, and very much enjoyed it. Very exciting, rewarding profession. But after about 10 years of that, I decided to get out and try a new career path. My first job out of the Navy was at Dell Computer down in Texas. And I spent time there rotating through a number of different roles on the operations side, operations marketing, and then some financial and treasury positions. And it was in 2004, while I was down there doing in the financial treasury area, that Crestline had done one of its spinoffs. It had created Highland Hospitality, which was a blind pool public REIT. A number of the Crestline folks had shifted over to the REIT when they did that spinoff, and they were in need of a finance leader. And I came over to Crestline in 2004 initially as the treasurer, and that kind of started things for me. And I have now been there over 20 years.
I guess it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a very clear line between Navy fighter pilot and
I'm glad you
finance
recognize
first.
that. A lot
Yeah,
of people can't make
I
that
don't
connection.
know why more people don't make the same transition. Man, yeah, how would you compare those career paths? Uh, I would imagine things are a little calmer in the hospitality side, despite how things can get.
Yeah, I'd say, it's in some ways very exciting, just as exciting, just in a very different way. But
I would
there
hope
certainly
different.
are some comparisons. I'd say the third party management business is highly competitive. And so having a good competitive spirit, I think, is very helpful in trying to operate a third party management company. There's a lot of competition, and we need to prove ourselves every day to the owners we work with, which is no different than manning up and launching on a mission every day.
I
Uh,
do have I do have to ask, having grown up in Cleveland, and so we would have the air show come through every Labor Day, and
yeah,
we get the Blue Angels, we get the Thunderbirds. I know different branches of the military, but I'm just my grandfather was a radio operator in the Air Force. Thankfully, he did not see any combat during World War II. He
Yeah.
was drafted a little bit too late for that, but just grew up. Family was always interested in that stuff. So I got to ask, what did you fly?
So I flew the F-18 Hornet, which is what if you've seen the Blue Angels fly, that's the plane that they fly today.
Yeah, yeah, we had the Thunderbirds in Cleveland this year, but I do believe we had a a, a Hornet demonstration this year. So, where our office is located in Cleveland, we got to see the test flights at least. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But
No,
anyways, back.
I still love air shows. So, even after being out of it for, I guess now I've been out almost 20 plus years. I still find myself at an air show almost every year. Grab some of my sons who's ever available and get out there, and it's still thrilling to me to watch those guys doing it. I just realize now when I'm standing out there, the pilots look like children, and uh, back when I was doing that, somebody my age just looked like an old guy that should never get in a cockpit anymore. So times have changed.
Well, anyway, back to hotels.
Yeah.
So let's talk. As you look back at how Crestline was when you started there and how it is today, what can you tell me about how it has evolved over the years? So what is different, but what do you find is still the same?
Yeah, I'd say I'd start with still the same. And I think one of the keys that we've always focused on is having very strong regional leadership and strength and coverage. And our regional teams, for example, our operations, sales, and revenue regional teams, I think we have some of the longest tenure in the business. We have folks on average on the ops side. Our regional team is, 10 years with the company on average. Our sales team close to 15 years. Similar for a lot of the folks on the revenue team. And we have a large oversight team. I think a number of our competitors out in the business, as they've modified their models, I think have shrunk down their regional oversight teams, and we've made a conscious decision to keep a large number of folks on those teams to limit how many hotels they're overseeing. And so I think one of Crestline's greatest strengths, and it was how we did business early on, and we continue to do it today, is to keep a very strong, healthy, skilled regional team on all the key areas so that our hotels are being touched, seen, talked to regularly by experts that can, guide those property teams and drive the best results. I think other thing is just focus on the teams themselves. This is a people business. And certainly if you were on the management side, it is absolutely a people business. So yeah, we're trying to drive value for our owners in the products that they have entrusted us with. But for us, it is people serving people. And that is what drives the business and what drives the revenues and return customers and guest scores. And so we've tried to maintain a huge focus on our teams by giving them the tools they need to excel, lots of training opportunities, many types of recognition events, weekly, monthly, quarterly types of recognition events to make sure they know how important they are to us. Presenting internal growth opportunities is enormously important to us. We've tried to grow the company in a steady way so that our teams feel that they have longevity here, but also have the opportunity to grow within their career. And we feel like those things add up into very loyal teammates out there who then can deliver exceptional service, and that's what creates that financial win for our owners.
As you look at where things are now, if you could go into a little bit more about the way that you've seen the company change over the years, how have you had to adapt as
Mhm.
the landscape, as the competition, as the brand offerings
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah, a number of areas I think have taken a lot of focus and changed over time. I'd say, one of the big areas recently is, we've made a tremendous investment in our revenue and digital teams and the tools that they use. In fact, in just the last 2 years, we've close to tripled the size of our digital team and invested heavily in our revenue management team. And I think, you know, going back 20 years, your sales team and the sales and marketing group were driving a tremendous amount of the revenue that came into the hotel, and digital almost non-existent, and revenue management was a much smaller piece. When you flip to today, I'd say, in a very rapid period of time, that has just about reversed to where many hotels, your traditional sales and marketing team are putting in less than a majority of the business into the hotel versus the revenue and digital team, and the tools and methodology that they're using to deliver on that are also rapidly changing all the time, requiring constant training, retraining, and best practice sharing quickly and effectively across the team so that you can stay at the cutting edge. And some of the tools have also had to improve. As an example, we've been investing in the last few years in our own customized BI tool, that allows us to pull, real-time data from almost every aspect of the hotel's financials and brand inputs that we get, inputs from Smith Travel, CoStar, and put those into tools that our regional teams can use for up to the minute insight on how the hotel is performing, to prepare for visits, for discussions with the hotel leadership team, for our owners. And those kind of tools just didn't exist 20 years ago. You were often looking best case 4 to 6 weeks lag in your data to try to make changes and continue to optimize. And now, really, you need to be doing it on the fly, sometimes day by day.
So you've touched on it a bit here, but as you look to the other parts of Crestline, particularly with its growth and its portfolio, what can you tell us that's new going on with Crestline? How are things looking at your current portfolio? How's your pipeline looking?
Sure. So I'd say sometimes, what's old is new again a little bit, but we're very focused on the current owners that we have in our portfolio. One thing that we're very proud of is that over our history, we have not had a lot of churn in our portfolio. We've had, I can consider it kind of slow, steady growth, trying to work with the best owners in the business. So our growth right now still comes easily over 50% of our growth comes from current ownership groups, many of whom we've worked with since the early 2000s and continue to work with today. I think that's important because if the people that you're working for now aren't hiring you to continue working for them and giving you more opportunities, then you have to ask yourself, okay, for the people that know me best, if they don't want to keep growing with me, what am I doing wrong? And so I consider that growth to be absolutely key, and we want to foster that growth as much or more than any other type of growth we have, because it says a lot about what we're doing right and the kind of people that we work with. So we've gotten some great steady growth over the last few years there, and we've also brought some new owners into the fold. And in particular, I'd say we have increased our management of independent hotels, both for current owners and new owners. And that's probably the biggest growth area in our portfolio, where we're seeing growth in the soft brands and the independent hotels. And I think you're just seeing a lot more of those out in the development pipeline, a lot more of those transacting. And so we've been tailoring our tools to make sure that we can be effective with our branded assets, but then also making adjustments so that we remain effective into kind of the new realm of soft brands and the heavy growth of independent hotels. And that's come through, that focus again on digital marketing, which is a lot heavier in those types of hotels, and renewed F&B focus. The soft brands independents are really using F&B a lot more than we used to. There was a period of time I remember when I was younger where, I mean, nobody wanted to go to a hotel restaurant anymore. Those were kind of dead, and they're back. They're back very strong, and so there's money to be made there, and so we put resources in F&B to make sure we can keep up.
As you look ahead, we're we're coming up on the fourth quarter of 25, which means we're all looking at 26. So as you look to the horizon, what do you see as what's next for Crestline?
So I think, we have, in the short term, we have another tough year ahead of us. I think 26 will be, right now, it's looking like a year with very light revenue growth and continued challenges on the expense side. So we're very sensitive to the challenges our owners are facing. That is foremost in our mind right now, is that our owners are experiencing, in many cases, a couple years of shrinking GOP margins and shrinking profits. And so we're focused on everything we can do to mitigate any expenses we can control. And again, through that investment I've talked about in revenue management and digital, trying to drive every last bit of additional revenue we can find, against a backdrop of limited revenue growth. The market has also been fairly weak from a transaction standpoint. And for a third party manager, that's where a lot of growth comes from. As transactions pick up and our owner partners are growing their portfolios, it gives us an opportunity to grow with them. And so that's been a little bit slow. But we feel like we have positioned ourselves very well for the future. So while times have been tough right now, I think we've looked very hard at market share at a time when it's hard to judge how well you're doing by just pure revenue numbers. We've looked very hard at market share to make sure that we can go to our owners and prove to them and show them that our performance is at its peak and that we are, stealing share from the hotels around us. And while that total amount of revenue may not be what we'd all like to see, we know that we're getting more than our fair share, and therefore, proving our performance to those owners. And so I think we're doing a lot of things right against a tough backdrop. And I see when we get past next year and you get out 2 to 3 years, when you think of how long we've had pretty muted supply growth for a number of reasons that everybody knows, I think there's going to be some pent up good years ahead of us when demand kind of rebounds. It'll be a lag for supply to catch up, and we'll find ourselves in some good years. And I feel like the work we've been doing now to get our model really tight on the expense side, really innovative on the top line side, the investment we've made in our owner relations will lead to some rapid, steady growth with some of the best owner partners we have, in the 2 to 3 year time frame.
And while I still have you, just wanted to get your thoughts, your observations, just on the current state of the industry. I know you touched on a couple of things with the last question, but just any other observations you would like to share?
I look. I think it's still a very exciting business to be in. The pandemic took a lot out of everybody in this business. If you're out talking to your friends who are in other industries, and you mention that you're in the hotel business, they all kind of just show this pained look on their face, wondering what the pandemic was like for you. So this was a tough business to be in, and so we all took a little bit of a hit. But I'll tell you, I think we as an industry, as you mentioned, I think earlier in the discussion, have always been a competitive industry, but it's a very collegial and nice business to be in, where people, it's a hospitality business and people treat each other well. And so I think we all went through those tough times together. Having AHNLA as our industry group has been an enormous benefit. They really came into their own in just a few years pre-pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I think did a tremendous service to our industry, helping our voice be heard to our federal, state, and local level officials, and have really rallied the industry behind some great causes. So I'm excited about what the future holds, and I think our industry is going to be doing very well going into the future.
Well, James, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and to tell us what's going on with Crestline. Happy anniversary to you and everyone at Crestline, and look forward to hearing more from you about what's to come.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to chat.
Hi, I'm STR's Isaac Colazo.
And I'm co-stars Jan Freitag. And together we are the data geeks behind Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast work.
Every month, we bring you a fresh take on the latest hotel data, insights into the travel trends behind that performance, and the big picture topics you should be thinking about.
And we also don't mind getting into some good-natured disagreement from time to time. Hey, when Isaac and I start talking data together, anything can happen, and it usually does.
Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.
Thanks for listening. This episode was recorded September 11th, 2025, and produced and edited by Brian Roden.